writing cover letters and correspondence. The goal is to give students tips and ideas on how to write effective cover letters for jobs and how to properly correspond in emails. Email correspondence is important, and many don't know that there is etiquette when emailing people like school faculty, school staff, and even employers. So when you are writing your cover letters, it's important that you have the job description and the required skills section in front of you. You want to be sure you're addressing every requirement and every desired requirement by providing past work experience when stating your job skills and anything that you possess. The point of the cover letter is to sell yourself and make the reader want to call you for an interview. So the structure is your first paragraph, your introduction. Introduce yourself and highlight important things like education and why you're applying to the job. So the second paragraph through either the fourth or fifth, depending on how many jobs and how much experience you're trying to put in there, you want to pull anything from the job listing that they listed as mandatory or desired qualifications, and that's what's going to build your second to fourth or fifth paragraph, as well as any skills that is being asked or required or desired. And you're going to also discuss any other job experience, skills, and education that makes you the best candidate for the job. So you definitely want to be sure that you are not being redundant in restating everything that you have in your skills section of your resume, but you're definitely wanting to restate anything in your skills section that will hold weight, that the employer has said is desirable or is a requirement. So be sure that you do that. And then also you want some examples from your job or past jobs that will also highlight how or why you would be the best candidate for this current position you're applying to. And then your last paragraph should always be a closing paragraph where you restate why you want the job, why you're the best candidate for the job, and then always, always thank them for their time in reading your resume and your application. So this is a real-life job listing from a local barista here, Starbucks. And so what I did was I literally took word for word a lot of the things in the summary of key responsibilities, as well as from the basic qualifications, and put it into my dummy cover letter. So some of the things that you definitely want to pull from this would be something like acts with integrity, honesty, and knowledge that promotes the culture, values, and mission of Starbucks. So that's a good sentence that you can definitely cut and paste into your own cover letter and tweak it to make it your own. As well as anticipates customer and store needs by constantly evaluating environment and customers for cues. So you could take bits and pieces of that as well. Down here in basic qualifications, available to work flexible hours that may include early morning, evenings, weekends, nights, and or holidays. That's a good one too. Everybody wants somebody who's flexible. So ability to learn quick, to understand and carry out oral and written instruction and request clarification when needed. So definitely there's a lot of some cut and paste material here that you can be literally doing into your cover letter. And you also can tweak some of those things in order to make it sound like you and not make it sound so much like a robot. So the letter starts out, Please consider this letter and corresponding materials as my enthusiastic application for the barista position. I am currently working on my associate's degree at Blue Mountain Community College and strongly believe that my flexibility, customer service skills, and willingness to learn new things leaves me well positioned to take on the responsibilities of this position. So right there, some key words: flexibility, customer service skills, willing to learn new things. Those are all pieces that came straight out of the listing. And so putting them right front and center so that they know you mean business is exactly what we want to have done. So then we go into our job experience and where that's going to be helpful. So I've kind of drawn your eyes to those two paragraphs because literally you're going to hear some things I've already said. So while at Ace Cash Express, I had to work with integrity, honesty, and knowledge that promoted the culture and values of Ace Cash Express. Haven't we heard that before? Down at the second paragraph. While at Walmart, I delivered legendary customer service to all customers by acting with a customer comes first attitude, and I do a great job of connecting with customers. That right there is listed in the job listing for the barista position, and I literally cut and pasted it and stuck it right in there. So that's their words verbatim. So then if we skip down to the fourth paragraph, this is going to be kind of a wrap-up of my skills and abilities to further show why I'm the best candidate for this position. I learned to effectively collaborate and work well in a team. I have impeccable interpersonal, oral, and written communication skills. I am highly organized, prioritize well, problem solve quickly and concisely, and multitask remarkably in fast-paced environments. I'm a motivator and a leader at heart that knows when to take initiative. I have vast multicultural experience working with diverse groups gained through my years of volunteer service and community outreach. Boom, sell, sell, sell. Use big words. Use the flair to really sell yourself. There's a lot of really good information here that literally I could match up with the job listing, and I could pull a good chunk of words out of that one paragraph alone. Then your final paragraph, your wrap-up paragraph. I'm confident that I would be a great addition to the team. With that in mind, I hope you will sincerely consider my application for this position. I appreciate your time in considering my qualifications, and I look forward to hearing from you shortly. So this is a really good letter, but mind the typos. There are quite a few typos if you didn't catch them. I know I kind of did some improv up here at the top, but make sure that you're rereading your letter as well as you are having maybe a friend reread your letter. But if you don't have anybody to read your letter for you, you can always rely on Grammarly. And Grammarly is a website that's free. And there are some extra bells and whistles you can pay for, but for something like this, you definitely can use the free version and get a good quality product out of it. So you upload your cover letter, and then Grammarly will catch grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, as well as any punctuation mistakes. So it's a great program, and you can find it at www.grammarly.com. So I highly recommend everybody go and create an account and make Grammarly just something that you put on your desktop right alongside Google Chrome. So here's our resume. So like I said before, it's really unnecessary to restate anything that you've already stated on your resume. So for instance, they asked for a lot of customer service. They mentioned it several times throughout the listing, the job listing. But, and we've got 5 years of customer service experience up here under skills summary, but we never actually said that in our cover letter because it really wasn't necessary. The job listing didn't say that they needed a specific amount of time in customer service, but we're providing that on our resume as an additional bonus. So you definitely don't have to repeat it within your cover letter. Now, I want to draw your attention to Spanish. So if you come across a job listing and within the job listing, it says that being bilingual is either preferred or being bilingual is desired, it's good to have it on your resume because that language skills, along with a lot of computer skills, are super important, so it's really good to have them on your resume for sure. But definitely make sure you say something about it in your cover letter. Language skills is a big one, and especially if they say it's a desirable quality. The desirables, if you've got them, flaunt them. Because there's always those minimums, and that's great to make sure that you're hitting the minimums. But the desirable qualifications, that's what's going to set you apart from your competition. So I say here that if you know that they want Spanish, then you should be putting it on your resume. You should also be making sure that you're putting it in your cover letter. So it's a huge asset, and it's something you really want to highlight. And so if it's not something like our posting really didn't say anything about being bilingual, it's just something that you can also utilize in an interview as a talking point. So you can say, you know, I understand that Pendleton, Oregon has a little bit of a Hispanic community, so I actually am fluent in Spanish, and I could talk to our Spanish customers in their native language. So that's a good thing to maybe point out when you actually get the interview. So also with a resume, it's good to notice too that you've got your skills summary at the top, your education right after that, then list all of your work experience with your most present job, the job that you're currently in or the job that you just left at the top, and work your way down through your history of jobs. And then do your volunteer work at the end. When it comes to volunteer work, that's awesome that every Thanksgiving you go down to the local homeless shelter and you help out in the soup kitchen. That's amazing. But if there isn't really anything more to that than you going down on Thanksgiving and maybe scooping out the mashed potatoes and putting it on the plates of all the homeless people coming through, as admirable as that is, for real estate purposes of our resume, probably don't want to put it down unless you're doing a resume for a scholarship. And the scholarship is asked for your resume as well as an essay and other supporting documents. But if you've done any kind of community service work that can show leadership and that can show innovation and shows initiative and shows that you've got drive and you're a go-getter, then definitely make sure it is on your resume. So for instance, community service member and secretary of the Willamette Valley Rotaract Club. So there's participation in some well-known organizations and campaigns like Rotary International's Pennies for Polio and Habitat for Humanity. So that's good. You're familiar with that. I'm sure the folks that you're applying to will also be familiar with those organizations and campaigns. Then skills with nonprofit management helped when raising money for a local elementary school. So you're showing that you're raising money, but you're also utilizing skills that you might have obtained while going to college or somewhere else. And so highlighting that is super important too. Then we get down towards the bottom. I took a leadership role during the Relay for Life fundraising event 2 years in a row, managing to help raise a total of over $2,500. My team won an award for most successful as a small group. That is a huge achievement and should be highlighted. Anytime you've done something that tremendous, like raised in a significant amount of money or led a team or a group and took initiative, that is super important, especially if you won an award for it. So you definitely want to make sure that you're putting those kinds of volunteer stuff down, because it will really resonate when you are applying for jobs, especially if you're applying for positions that are looking for leadership and taking initiative and being able to show successes. So now we're going to shift gears and we're going to go into proper correspondence with people via emails and letters. And I know the art of writing letters has kind of died, but we definitely use email on a daily basis. I know millennials feel like email is just so tedious and it's such an annoyance because everybody's texting and using social media, but it's really important that you learn the proper etiquettes to writing emails so that you look like you are a professional, because when you get out in the real world, you need to be professional, especially if you get a professional job. And B, whatever it is that you're asking or trying to convey is actually received by your reader and you get your question answered or you get the response that you're looking for. Because if the reader doesn't understand what it is that you're asking for, you can have a lot of back and forth of, what did you say? I don't understand that. What? So it's really important that you make sure that your correspondence is clear, concise, and you have the ability to show your reader or give your reader information where they can respond back. So address the person, whether it's formal or informal, depending on who the person is. If it's an instructor and you're on a first name basis with them, great, go ahead and use their first name. But if it's, say your congressman and you really have never met this person before, you probably want to use a more formal name for them and not just say, hey, what's up, Bob? How you doing? I'm one of your constituents. Probably not the most appropriate way to address one of your congressmen or somebody that is of higher stature that you've never met before. And then you want to ask your questions or state your main idea as clear as possible. It's your job as the writer of the letter to ensure that your reader understands the purpose of your email, especially if you're asking for something. If the reader doesn't understand what it is that you're asking for, they are not going to be able to answer you properly. And then always, always assign your name. And then if you are asking for feedback or information or something in return, give them additional information so that they can contact you, whether that's restating your email, providing them with another email for whatever reason, or even giving them your phone number so they can pick up the phone and call you if it's something that's a little more in depth, and a phone call would probably help take care of the issue. So I've got some examples. So the first example is a little more formal. Dear Ms. Torres, I was writing to ask the status of my job application. I submitted my application on 2/17/2017, and I had an interview scheduled for 2/28/2017. But I received an email saying it needed to be rescheduled. I was not sure how to reschedule this interview. Could you please email or call me back? Thank you. John F. Doe, phone number and email provided. This is great because this tells the reader that somebody emailed him and told him he needed to reschedule an interview but they did not give him any more information. So whoever sent him the original correspondence didn't do a very good job of corresponding with this person. And in turn, this person, John F. Doe, has done a great job in making sure that the reader understands that he has done his part, and now he needs to know how he can further finish out what it is that he's trying to achieve. So this is great. So here's now a very school-related, not formal correspondence. Dear April, I had a question about a class I wanted to register for in the spring. I also would like to know, how do I borrow a writing book from the lending library? There's a job posted for a trio mentor position. Can we set up an appointment so I can get more information on that job? I'm free Fridays after 2. Thank you, John F. Doe. He's provided his phone number as well as his student ID number and his email. This is great. So now April can go in and look up the student by their student ID number, especially if they have such a common name. Sometimes in school systems, if you are a John Smith, you might be one of 20. And so having some other information to pull you apart from other people who may share the same name as you can be very, very helpful. Not to mention, this student has a lot of questions, but they're concise and the reader can tell exactly what it is that they're looking for. So April can pick up the phone and have a chat with John and totally go through the email and answer every single one of those questions. Or April can address each question individually in the next email that she sends out to John. Thanks, John, for your questions, and then roll right into them. You can do this, this is how this works, and answer all of John's questions effectively. So it's important that you are clear and concise, because as the person delivering the message, and this is when you are giving a speech, when you're writing a paper, when you're writing email correspondence to anyone, it is your job to ensure your reader, your listener, your audience understands what you're saying. It's not their responsibility to understand, because it's your ideas that you are creating and delivering to them. It's your questions that you need answers to. So it's important that when you read your correspondence, you think of it as, I am coming into this conversation from the outside. I know nothing about anything. If I read this, would I understand what it is that I'm